Welcome back. Welcome back to Soapy.
It was so great chatting with Eric, wasn't it?
He's amazing.
He's beyond amazing. I loved listening to everything he had to say, but it was fascinating when he was talking about how he was getting his career started in the 70s and how back then you were either a film actor or a television actor and the challenges that presented.
Yeah, there was a bit of that when I started out back in the 1800s, but I like that has sort of gone away, right? We see film actors on TV all the time. And I also like that he talked about how part of the reason why he stayed at Y&R for over 40 years is because he loves the character of Victor Newman, which is actually, and I can relate to that because I really loved playing Greenlee. And when Josh left, it was very enticing to want to leave after 3 years and go out and do what Josh was, we were auditioning at the time and testing for things. And but
what made you stay?
I just loved Greenlee.
Yeah.
I really loved that part. And you can't play a character like that on a film or a TV show for very long. So
and the character development.
It evolves.
Yes.
Yeah, you evolve with it. It's fun. Yeah.
I also, I played Kevin regularly for 15 years and then continue to still play him on occasion. And frankly, had I not been sort of forced out of that comfort zone, not by my own choice, I would have stayed because it was a great job and a great role and I adored the people I work with. But
and
sometimes,
go ahead.
No, but sometimes being forced out of that comfort zone ends up being a gift you never even knew you needed.
And also, you developed a huge fan following, and all of those fans wanted to see you someplace. So it's good. They followed you to. Have you found that a lot of fans have followed you to Days?
I think so. I think it's hard to tell. I have either made new fans who are Days of Our Lives fans, or there is crossover.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget. It was when I was leaving Young and Restless in 2017. Eileen Davidson said to me on my last day, she said, "This is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you," and I was absolutely not in a place where I was able to hear that. And then cut to a few years later, she and I are both going back and forth between Young and Restless and Days of Our Lives. And we were in hair and makeup together one day at Days. And she said, "Do you remember what I said to you?" And I couldn't, and she had to remind me. And she said, and I was absolutely right. And she was, because once you are out of that comfort zone, you realize how much self-growth and all this other good stuff that happens when you're blah, blah, blah.
Self-growth? Greg Rikaart? What?
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway. Do you remember your first fan experience?
The first one that I remember, I don't know if this was the first one, but I remember that shortly after I started on Y&R, I started in June of 2003, and I feel like I must have started airing, obviously, about a month or so later. And in August of 2003, they had their annual fan event. And so my first fan experience was a giant fan event at the Sheraton Universal. And it was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been more overwhelmed had I been solo, but I was there with the entire cast and just sort of took cues from all the pros.
It was a big experience. So not a one-on-one with a fan.
Yeah.
I know you would love this tidbit. I had a fan come up to me once, and she was like, "Greenlee, you look chunky on TV," and I was like, "Thank you, thank you."
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to meet your only fan.
Do you have a recent fan experience, like from Days?
I don't go out much.
Oh my God! Yeah, no. I had one in the grocery store. Someone recognized me. And she goes, "Oh my God, I love you." She said, "Are you still on the show?" She said something. It was like Hayden or something, and I go, "No, I'm not. I'm not on that show. You're not on Bold and Beautiful?" And I said, "Yeah, but I don't play Hayden."
That's how you know. That's how you know that is a true fan who knows you from different shows.
That's what I meant, Taylor. I was like, "Wow, you're recognizing me from the Bold and the Beautiful." It was like the first time that I've been recognized as Bold.
I was at Universal Studios a few weeks ago with Monty, and when we were walking in, there was somebody who recognized me from Days there. But what's interesting for me too is, having had the same job for 15 years, if anyone ever came up to me, I knew where they recognized me from. Now I have to sort of do the math of wait, which show do you, and
Sometimes I'll randomly get a Michelle Bauer from Guiding Light when I was really young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They recognize your voice from when it was on radio. We can go back to that bit again and again. Will you share with me a memorable fan experience that you had?
I was at Epcot Center in Disney World.
Okay.
And I was down there hosting some sort of parade.
Was
the
it
Orange
the
Bowl parade or something?
Was it the Super Soap weekend?
No,
that they used to
it
do?
wasn't Super Soap. It was New Year's.
Oh.
It was around New Year's. And I was down there with my sister and the publicist for all my children at the time. And we're in this little shop. And in Epcot, we had just had dinner, and I look over, and there's Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. And I was, like, one of my very first jobs in LA was in an Aerosmith video.
Which one?
Living on the Edge. I rollerblade, and then I bashed in some cars with a hockey stick.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to rollerblade, and I told them I did.
Well, you
can
know
tell
how to
I-
ice skate. so
Well,
it's-
yeah, I know. But how to stop on rollerblades,
Sure.
I wasn't too skilled. Anyway, I'm like, oh my God. I didn't tell anyone. I just walk over to him, and I'm like, hi. I know you're with your family and everything. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan, and I was in one of your music videos. He's like, oh, right, cool. And I was like, and I go, he goes, you're an actress? I go, yeah. He goes, oh, all right, cool. Nice to meet you. And I was like, oh my God. Because it's Steven Tyler
Yeah.
from here. So I didn't get to meet him when I did the video, okay? So I go back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a geek. Why did I do that? I mean, I was mortified.
Yeah, it's
And the publicist was like, why did you do that? That was so dumb. Why did you do that? All of a sudden I hear, Greenlee! And I turn around and he's got his arm around his wife and he's like, this is my wife, Teresa. She watches your show. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
I nearly passed out. And that night we were at the fireworks, watching the fireworks in Epcot, you know?
Yep.
And, or maybe it was at Disney World, I don't know. And he was there. I got to chat with him. And,
Did you get
know.
a picture with them?
Yeah, I did.
Sweet.
Yeah, I have pictures. to prove
That's a
it.
good story.
I have pictures to prove it, okay? There are people out there that were fans.
Two.
Steven
Tyler's wife and the woman who thought Greenlee was chunkier on TV.
Oh my God. All right.
Okay, well, we have a very, very exciting guest. Mm-hmm. But before we sit down with
God.
the legendary, the iconic, the beautiful Deidre Hall,
Yeah.
I have some soap trivia for you.
Of course you do.
I don't think you're going to know the answer to this one.
You always think I'm not going to.
You think I'm setting you up for failure, don't you?
all the time.
Okay, you sure you're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Which movie star's grandfather was behind the launches of Search for Tomorrow and I Love Lucy in 1951?
Well, I do feel like it would be a New York actor because Search for Tomorrow was shot in New York. But it's a good one, and I don't know the answer, but I'm sure you're going to tell me when we come back, and we will be right back with the answer to this just amazing trivia question and the beautiful, beautiful Deidre Hall. Welcome back to Soapy. All right, Greg asked me this trivia question, and you're going to give me the answer. Which movie star's grandfather was behind the launch of Search for Tomorrow and I Love Lucy in 1951?
Okay, the answer is Matthew Broderick.
New York actor. You owe me $250.
You knew that it was a New York actor. I don't think that means you knew that it was Matthew Broderick.
Okay.
Okay, his maternal grandfather is Milton Beo, who owned the Beo Company, and his agency handled production for Search for Tomorrow on behalf of Procter & Gamble. And at CBS's behest, Beo arranged sponsorship with their client Philip Morris for I Love Lucy, and both shows debuted on CBS in 1951, Search in September, and I Love Lucy in October.
Wow, aren't you glad you had that written down on a card?
And I knew it. It was committed to memory.
Okay. Well, our next guest needs no introduction. I'm going to tell you that you know that I was a fan of All My Children, but I was also a fan of Days of Our Lives growing up. And this next guest, I would watch and be riveted, and I find her mesmerizing, also very, very beautiful. And one thing that she cries beautifully, you know? Like I would feel what she was feeling, and she would just be beautiful throughout the whole thing. Why are you laughing?
I'm just like, I'm agreeing with everything in my mind. I'm agreeing with everything you are saying.
She's been in daytime for a long time. She was on Young and the Restless in 1973 for the role of Barbara Anderson. And after 2 years on the Young and the Restless, went to Days of Our Lives as the role of Dr. Marlena Evans.
I'm so happy.
Yes, and she also has other credits. Do you want to talk about them?
Go ahead.
Okay. Our House, The Kraft Super Show, Emergency, and most recently Hacks, which I'm very
Hacks.
excited to talk about. Deidre Hall.
Hi,
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. We're so beyond thrilled and honored to have you here.
Honey, anything for you. You know that.
Stop.
Sweet.
He knows that.
So, we have all been part of fan events over our careers in daytime. But is it true that you hosted the very first fan event, or something that was considered the first fan event?
I did. I was, this is the days when we got fan mail, and in the days when we read it too. I got a letter from a woman who said her mother was going blind. And she'd been a fan of the show for a while, and when they asked her what she wanted to see before she lost her sight, she said, I want to see Deidre Hall in person. Truly, you couldn't make that up.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, well, come on, here we go. And so at that point in time, there were about 6 or 7 actors on the show that had a fan club. So I knocked on their doors, and I said, you got fans who need to see you? And yeah, okay, fine. And we had the very first, what we call lunch break, at the Sportsman's Lodge in the Valley.
Yeah.
And there were about 125 people there.
Was this for Days of Our Lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And our little lady was right in the front row, and she saw it. Oh, don't make me do it. I'm making myself do it.
Wow.
But she was there, and then the second year it was 500 people, and the third year it was a full-blown stage production with 2,500 people at the Hollywood Palladium.
That's
That is
incredible. Do you think that
incredible.
other people got inspired from other shows? Did you hear the other shows doing any sort of fan events after that?
I think they all do now. I think.
Well, they do now, but
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just wondering at that time, did people start to get inspired and
I don't know.
No, you don't know.
I was too
really
busy
cool.
taking care of ours.
Yeah,
What
that's
was your
so sweet.
What was your first fan event and fan encounter in real life? Do you remember?
You know, gosh, I many years ago, when we got and read fan mail, I got a letter from a man in Chester, Pennsylvania, and he wrote to me, and I wrote to him, and he wrote to me, and I wrote to him, and we were doing an award show back east, and I thought, how close is Pennsylvania to where we're going? And so I jumped a train. I went down to Chester.
Oh my God.
I spent the afternoon with him.
What?
That's amazing.
And at that point, he was 96 years old. H. Weston Taylor, an artist of amazing artwork, and
Yeah.
a few pieces that I have that he's gifted me. But we had a lifelong friendship, as long as he lived. And I called him one day and I said, Weston, you weren't feeling well. Are you okay? He said, Deidre, is that you? I said, yeah. He said, it's Weston Jr.
Oh.
He died that night. But we had a great,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Yeah.
What a great person you are to do that.
Easy. He made it easy.
Yeah.
I know, that's really sweet though.
But there's
thoughtful.
we've talked about this before, that the specificity of soap fans and the fact that when they watch you on TV, it's not at the end of their day to escape their life and they turn on the TV once a week, or it's not going to a theater, but it's seeing you every day, during the day, during their lives. So they really start to feel a connection, I think, that is different from how you might feel about an actor you know from film, you know? Mm-hmm. And why they feel like they know us personally and not just the characters that we're playing.
Well, we're in their house every day, 5 days a week, and we ask them a lot.
Yeah.
Believe us.
Yeah.
Buy into it.
Yeah.
Take this ride with us. And luckily for us, they do.
Yeah. All the crazy stuff that we ask them to believe.
I was surprised to learn that you started out on The Young and the Restless. I had no idea. Barbara Anderson you played, and you said you were more off than on in another interview. How was your time there, and why did you end up leaving?
You don't end up leaving a soap.
Hello.
Sometimes
But you're
you do.
very kind.
Sometimes you do.
I was brought in to be Brad Elliott, who was their leading man's backstory. So I'm the reason he leaves town, and so there was no there there.
Yeah.
But it gave me a taste of wanting to be part of an ensemble.
Yeah.
And I said to my agent, "Get me a soap." And then when he woke up, he said, "You wait, and then I got a call from Days, and there it is.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you just said when he woke up. Is that because most agents didn't want you to go off into a soap if you were doing film and prime time, which you were doing
I
prior
was doing
to
enough
you
of
were
it,
doing
but
prime time, right?
they don't usually hear that from an actor, I don't think.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, right.
I think there's also just my personal experience is once you drink the Kool-Aid of getting to do work every day.
I know.
And just the character evolvement that happens when we're getting script after script. I just love it. And and I think once I started, I was like, oh, I will stay at this job or in this genre for as long as they'll have me. So I totally get that.
And they love you so much.
Oh.
Do you know how much work he gets given?
No.
We have,
He said he has monologues after monologues after monologues.
And they're
he
almost
does get to
always
work
with her.
You. Yes,
Yeah.
he said that.
which is
did
such
say
a
that.
gift.
I try to get my line right so he can go on.
No, but here's how generous she is. Any day that we have a hefty load of scenes to take care
By
of.
we, he means he.
Well, no, don't sell yourself short. She'll send me a text the day before. She'll say, we've got a lot tomorrow. Do you want to get a head start on this? And then once Monty's asleep, I'll give her a call at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we'll spend an hour the night before just reading it and gossiping and doing other stuff too. And then by the time we get to work the next day, it's like 75% of the prep work, the homework is already done.
I mean, that says so much about you, Deidre, because you've been doing this a long time. And I mean, I like to do that myself, but I find there are some seasoned people that just, they show up, they look at it then, you know, and then they go on and they do their work. So it's so nice of you to be so generous. And Craig's like, it's me.
It's me.
It's an excuse to spend time with him.
Oh my God.
Let's just be clear. Yeah. let's be clear.
Before Days, maybe after Y&R, I don't know what the succession is here, but I want to talk a little bit about ElectroWoman and Dyna-Girl, because I don't know if I've told you this before, but before my job on Young and Restless, the first screen test I ever had for a pilot was the reboot of ElectroWoman and Dyna-Girl that they were doing back in 2000, 2001. That never made it onto the air. I don't know what happened because I didn't get the job, but, and I had, of course, known of you and been very aware of you before then, but I had tried to get old episodes of ElectroWoman and Dyna-Girl to watch because I was trying to
You
do
have
some
to get a
homework.
life, honey.
do. I still do. Anyway, what do you remember about that time? I know that Jane Elliott worked with you.
Yeah, that was a tough show to do. Although to look at it, you wouldn't think so. But we did it at a studio that was not air conditioned in the summertime, and we shot. And we are in, as you may recall, spandex costumes. So we got boots and spandex and hair and spray and running around all the time. And the only way we got cooled off was to figure out that next door was a Donnie and Marie show. And they had an ice rink. They had to keep cold.
What?
So we'd go over, get those elephant doors, open them up in the morning, and steal their cold air. And then when we were done, we'd close up their doors again.
Wow.
They had an ice rink?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. And I remember that show. Well, I do have brain fog.
She is brain fog. Did you know Jane before that show?
No.
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 Are you still friends today? That's really sweet. I heard you turn down the role of Marlena Evans because all these actresses had turned it down, so you figured it was not something you should do.
I was screen testing, and they usually try and have people not in the same room.
Yeah.
Obviously, the actors are not be able to see each other or see our screen test. And I happened to see a couple women. I thought, oh my word, look who's testing for this. And I tested, and I got a call saying that I had gotten it. And so I knew, as actors in their craziness know, if they chose me, everybody else must have turned it down. Yeah. There must be something wrong with this part, so I'm turning it down too.
Oh, man.
And I did. I said, I know something wrong. I don't want to do that.
Wow.
And my agent called about 3 weeks later and said, tell me what's going on here. You said you wanted to do a soap. Yes, I did. I said, but there's something wrong with it. He said, no. I said, I wasn't their first choice. Yes, you were. I was. It's you like me, you really like me moment.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I love that part. I'd love to do that part.
Can you tell us who the other actresses were?
I can't now. I've been doing this for 40 years.
Right.
So they were recognizable to me 40 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, have you ever auditioned with someone that's been in a room and you're like, I know that person? And
I remember screen testing with Zach Quinto, who went on to Star Trek fame and really brilliant career. Not for the same role, but they had us together, everyone that was testing. And but I used to have that experience all the time too. I think especially when you're young and your self-confidence might be lagging a little bit, feeling like I'd see the other people in the room and sort of take the job away from myself before anyone ever said no, you know?
You know, your charm, among everything else, is that people love you so much.
Oh.
And I'll just go ahead and say it because you can't stop me now. But this man is so lovely to work with. And it's just that when I get a script and it says, oh, boy, okay, that's going to be a fun day. And everybody at work feels the same way.
Oh,
You're just
that's very,
beloved
very
everywhere you
kind.
go. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, what have you done?
You know,
what have you done over there? You've been like
I
putting
spiked
something
the
in their
water.
drinks?
Yeah,
Yes.
I spiked the water cooler.
Yeah.
Little lorazepam for everybody to get the day started. Well, I remember. Well, we have a long history. We went to Monte Carlo together, not together, but we were there. I was there for Young and Restless, and you were there for Days. We also did a telethon together after Hurricane Katrina, and Sony flew us. I don't know if you remember this, but it was my only time on a private plane. They flew us to Mississippi for a telethon in like.
Oh, that's sounding familiar now.
Yeah. But it wasn't really until I started on Days that we got to really know each other, and I was so excited to really chat with you. And I remember our first conversation because I shared with you that my husband and I at the time had, let's see, Monty was probably 1 or 2, but that we had gone through surrogacy, and your openness and candor in sharing your story was so impactful to so many people, and I think really moved the needle with regard to where the technology went and the access people then believed they had to have families, when before you're sharing your experience, they may not have ever known that that was an option for them. And that's a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
Before we had our children, the Baby M story was out there.
Oh yeah.
Which is a surrogacy gone bad nightmare.
Oh yeah.
And I think it gave everybody such a feeling of hopelessness about it. You know, I've been through years of infertility and years of obviously trying to conceive and couldn't get it. And then I was at one of the ultrasounds and heard somebody say, 2 women talking, I'm so tired of this, I feel like a pincushion. Because when you're doing in vitro, you do a lot of shots. And the other woman said, stop griping, I'm the one who's got to deliver this baby. And I said to the doctor, what am I hearing? What am I hearing? He said surrogacy. It's sort of, I'll be right back. Didn't know much about it. Heard about the Baby M stuff. Said, all right. But my great belief is women helping women. I have it happen to me all the time. I see it all the time. I celebrate it all the time. And I thought, yeah, women do this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
That's amazing.
And so I headed down the surrogacy road.
Love it. And that's I love hearing you say that, because your relationships with Judy and Susan, like your women helping women, is apparent. You know, you really set the tone at work.
Well, you get to play a twin, Hattie.
Yes.
How do you like playing Hattie versus Marlena, or?
You know, Hattie was originated by my twin sister.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yes, I do know that. She came on, didn't she?
She came on as my identical twin, Samantha. Yeah. And then in some just fit of stupidity, they killed off the character in a mistaken identity. They thought I was dead, blah, blah, blah.
How long was she there?
She had a degree in special ed. She was teaching special ed classes. She left that, and she was there a couple years, maybe, not long enough. And then at one point there was the character of Hattie began because it was somebody who, in the right light, with the right moment, looked something like Marlena.
Yeah.
And so, who do we get? Deep thinking producers. Oh, wait, we have somebody who looked something like her in the right light. And so they brought her back in, and then they put a hook nose on her and fake teeth and a fat
Your sister?
suit. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And a fat suit. And she's always been
inhibition.
funny. No inhibition. Thank you. There it is. Thanks for helping me. We'll cut out the other part.
Okay.
And she played Hattie with just such hilarity and passion, and she's pulling down her panties and she's fixing her bra strap and she's all over the place.
Had she ever acted before?
No. No.
incredible.
What?
No, no. But as she said, I've seen you do it. How hard could it be? So also tells you a lot about her. And she was a natural. And as I said, being a special education teacher, she had a freedom about her that was fantastic for Hattie.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So now
Although-
you're playing her, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well-
maybe she set the bar high, but you as Hattie is one of my favorite things I get to experience at work, because Hattie is the trashy version of
different.
Marlena, right? So like,
I don't know if I'd call her trashy.
what would you call her?
I'd call her eccentric.
Okay.
She loves you, so.
Yes.
How dumb can she be? Yeah, she.
Oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah, oh, so sorry. Are you still here? I played for Marlena for so many years, and she is, just rigid and by the numbers and predictable in a pleasant way, but still. And so getting to play Hattie was just, oh, God. Spitting gum on people and spilling things on
Oh my
people.
God, I saw that when you spit on his
Peter
head.
Rickle.
It was this Peter Rickle. Wasn't it his head or was it his cheek? It was his head.
I think it was
And
his
no
head.
one broke.
Yeah.
And did you?
We're pros.
Did you try it in rehearsal?
No, I said to him, it's Hattie, so we never know what she's going to do. Don't be cute. I said, no, but we can't predict her. Don't do anything. But
This is what you said to Peter.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we rolled tape, and I thought, all right. And as we know, I spit my gum on him, and it landed on him, and then that was a hard moment to stay still.
Was that the end of the scene? Did he have to
Just about.
hold?
Just about. It was
So
yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Those are still the hardest moments for me, is like the tag.
Oh, don't even. I can't get through them. And at the Bold and the Beautiful, their tags last good 5 minutes. They're like, I remember my first day, it was a tag, and I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, we need more. And I was like, more? Yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
Put a flashback in. Don't make me do the heavy lifting here.
Somebody,
Come on.
yeah.
These tags. So a lot
Somebody-
of times, anyway. yeah,
Somebody
we
told
laugh.
me early on, they said, just as long as you have a thought, doesn't matter. It doesn't even need to pertain to the scene that you're
Yeah.
in. As long as you're thinking, the camera will pick up the thought. But sometimes the thought is like, are they still on me? Is this scene not over yet?
That's a lot for me.
Yeah.
Days has done some wild things over the years. What has been the most outrageous story, I guess, that they've ever given you that you played and then thought, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe that happened? Days has done some wild things over the years. What has been the most outrageous story, I guess, that they've ever given you that you played and then thought, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe that happened?
Well, clearly it's possession that will
Yeah, well, I
be
was
on my
wondering.
tombstone, so we
Yeah.
all know that.
Oh my!
But we've done amazing stories. We did a coming out story. We were the first one to
Yes,
do that,
yeah.
which was just, Chandler was extraordinary and
Yeah.
made it work. But we did a story that I was so proud that they did many, many years ago, which was a crib death.
Oh, wow.
And there was an enormous debate among the network and the producers about how do we do it? How do we do it? Do we promo it so the audience knows it's coming? Do we do it in the moment? And they decided that that this is what happens to a mother. So we'll do it in the moment. And we won't promote it. We won't foreshadow it. She goes in to pick up that baby from a nap, and he is gone.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
and-
that would be really hard.
Yeah, we got mail about that, when there was mail. But women writing saying, I made my husband come home. I couldn't get through it. And we would sit there and watch the shows together, and how does she survive it? And of course, her whole life implodes after that. But they did the only crib death ever on television.
Wow.
And for that, I salute them. That
Yeah.
was
That's
heavy
brave.
lifting.
That's brave.
But the heavy lifting is also, there is somebody that story was helpful for, and you know why they choose to go down those paths sometimes.
That's why I like what soaps do. They do take like real life things that happen, and occasionally they take good issues and they bring it to the forefront, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember when during the Will's coming out story, and just being so pleased with how masterfully that was handled, just as an observer, because I was not working on Days at the time. But most, if not all, of his scenes were with Marlena, his grandmother, and it was almost like if there were people in the audience that might have had reservations or concerns about a gay character on their show, that you were giving them permission, that it was fine, it was okay, it was to be celebrated, not just tolerated. And it was so, so well done. And kudos to you and Chandler. It was a beautiful story.
And it was okay to come out.
Yeah.
And as I said, again, we got so much mail from young men saying, oh, I made my grandmother watch the show. I made my mother watch the show. I hope they can react the same way. But it gave me the courage to talk about it.
Yeah. There was an episode of Will and Grace where the humor in it was that Jack, who was the very flamboyant gay character on the show, that his mother didn't know he was gay. And so my version of that is watching that episode. It's called Homo for the Holidays with my mother. And at the end of the episode, my mom being like, okay, that was funny, and like completely over her head what I was trying to do.
You weren't out yet?
No, I wasn't out yet. And I didn't come out watching that episode, but that was like one of the crumbs I was trying to put out for her.
Anything?
No, she thought it was funny, but that was it.
Oh,
maybe we
honey.
should have watched Days of Our Lives instead. No, by the time you guys did that story, my mother was well aware of who her son was.
Oh my goodness, Greg.
I know, yeah.
Oh, I know, but just the pain of that, like trying to start the conversation,
wanting to
not
be
knowing
seen,
how,
wanting to be understood and still accepted and loved.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
Your mom probably didn't know how to handle that. She probably knew that's what you were trying to do.
No, my mother's amazing, and that was not meant to be a downer.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, where are the tissues? When you go out with him, do people say, do they recognize you together more than they do apart? Well, they probably recognize you everywhere you go.
Well, we don't go out.
You don't go out too much.
Nearly enough. But
That's true, not nearly enough.
Yeah.
We went out.
We went down to
La La
Montana.
Land? Yeah, and had lunch there. I don't know, I always find like, I think if we ever went out, not on Montana, but on a place that was more, if we were at the Grove, let's say, or Universal
that's true.
At City Walk,
Universal, yeah,
or a
City
place
Walk,
where you'd have
something like
more out-of-towners,
Yeah.
I think we'd get a lot more traction.
Well, we also live in a town that's just sick with celebrities,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
true.
think any spotting is that unusual.
That's true.
Yeah.
When I've gone out with like my co-stars, people are like, oh, you were a real couple in real life? Has that ever happened to you?
No, they used to think Christian LeBlanc and I were brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we played brothers.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Yeah.
We ask a lot of them, don't we? Yeah. Yeah, believe
Yeah.
everything we're
Yeah,
telling
but
you.
your twin sister really played your twin sister, so there
Yeah.
you go.
So fair
There you
of
go.
them to ask, right? Fair question. As we are well aware, Days of Our Lives really sort of can venture into fanciful, kind of zany territory, and so
I mean, all of them can.
they
in
all can,
fairness,
yeah.
Not just Days.
well, Days really, I think, more than the others, kind of pushes the boundaries as far as, especially now that we're streaming, because we don't have the same standards and practices to answer to. So what is there anything that comes to mind that you feel is really sort of on the fringe of the, I'm guessing you're going to say the exorcism and the possession, but any other things that kind of come to mind?
That really is kind of the high point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Levitation, that sort of thing.
I mean, even the stuff we did last year, the soap within the soap, that was pretty zany. Did you know about this? We had a storyline where many characters from Salem, including Hattie, were actors in a soap opera called Body and Soul.
Dear, Body and Soul, thank you.
And Leo was the head writer. And we had, Johnny was the director,
you,
and
right?
yeah, that's me. So, which is kind of out there, a little meta, soap in a soap.
Yeah.
What about you?
That is out there. Oh God. I'm on the spot, so I can't think of anything, and it'll come to me, I'm sure. I had to do a lot of crazy things over the years, and a year goes by, and you do so much in 1 year on a soap. that it's hard to remember every single thing.
Yeah.
Well, you've trained your brain to memorize and forget.
Yeah.
And if you start putting up a scene from 3 days ago, which is very similar to the scene you're doing today.
Yeah.
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 There's days where we'll have stuff to do, and I'll be so proud of it or happy with something, and I'll go home and Rob will ask how work was, and I'll say, oh, we had the scene, and I had to say, and gone. Cannot remember what I loved about it or what was great about it, because to your point, it's in and then it's out. So can you talk a little bit about how you feel the show has evolved since 1976?
Oh my. You know, we keep growing with the times.
Yeah.
You know, we are topical, and if it's out there, we'll be doing it, which I think is it gives people that other opinion. Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. I guess that's one way to think about it.
Yeah.
And I like that we do that, because we are topical.
Me too. Our final question, out of everyone that you've worked with since 1973, who do you think of as the king and queen of soaps? I know my answers. I'm sitting next to the queen, but in your opinion, like, anyone you've worked with that really had an impact on you?
Or haven't worked with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think in our case, you're kind, thank you. Bill and Susan.
Yeah.
You know, just there's no doubt. I mean, by the time you get on the cover of Time magazine and all that, I mean,
Yeah.
they you know, Doug and Julie were a staple of our show for many, many, many years, and really set the bar high and set the pace.
Yeah. He was tremendous. She is fantastic. Yeah, we're very lucky. We have a lot of great people that we get to work with.
You're so lucky you get to work over there.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It has been such an honor to have you here today. I'm so
you.
grateful that you spent your afternoon with us.
Anything for you, you know
Thank
that.
you. Come back and see us again, okay?
No.
Anything for you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well
Well,
done.
stick around, because when we come back, we will be talking to Sheila Ducksworth, who is the executive producer of Beyond the Gates. I'm very excited to talk to her.
Me too.